Iran, a mysterious land. A secret and exotic Persian culture, rich in the ancient traditions of literature and trade. A country of magnificent monuments, modern cities, and astonishing natural beauty. Home to a surprising wilderness of habitats that look European and others that feel distinctly African. Iran is a crossroads for animals from different continents, making it a unique refuge for a rich diversity of wildlife. This is the story of a journey into the heart of the unknown Middle East to reveal wild animals and places that must be protected. Benny Rebel was born in Iran. He left his native country at the age of 19 and is now a renowned wildlife photographer and conservationist in Germany. Benny is returning to Iran for the first time in 20 years, and his aim is to explore, document, and raise the profile of Iran's little-known wildlife. Benny will spend the next 6 weeks exploring the national parks and nature reserves in a country 3 times the size of France. For Benny, this is a journey with a serious mission.
I would like to take some photographs of the unknown wildlife of Iran to show the people which treasure they have in their own country, to mobilize them to protect these all beauties of nature.
Benny starts his expedition in the hot and dry regions of southern Iran. More than half of this vast country is arid scrubland and desert, but there are animals which have adapted to survive in this sparse landscape. Indian gazelles or chinkara, and an Asiatic cheetah. This subspecies of cheetah is today only found in Iran. Chinkaras are its main natural prey. The chinkara have detected the cheetah. They're off. The cheetah has spotted another opportunity. The hare has little hope of outrunning the fastest mammal on land. It's only a small meal for the cheetah, but it can't afford to be choosy. Chinkara populations were decimated by hunting in the last century, and the large herds that once roamed these grasslands have disappeared. The cheetahs have had to look for other sources of food. Benny has come too late for the action, but he is thrilled to have the privilege of seeing one of the world's rarest big cats at such close quarters. And it's a great photo opportunity. With his full belly, the cheetah seems content to let Benny creep closer. For Benny, it's a magical moment. The cheetah was once widespread across the Asian continent, but has now disappeared from most of its former range. Iran is its last stronghold. This vast wilderness also used to be home to Asiatic lions and Caspian tigers, both sadly already extinct. The Asiatic cheetah is also on the verge of extinction. There are less than 100 cats left in the wild. Benny is determined to ensure its survival. Iran now has 19 national parks and over 100 nature reserves. Close to Benny's old hometown, Arak, in the center of the country, lies Haftad Gola National Park. Benny has spotted 2 fluffy, long-eared owl chicks. He's keen to get closer. As a child, Benny used to climb here and can remember some of the rough pathways through the rocks. If he is careful and quiet, he should be able to get quite close to the naive chicks. Small rodents and reptiles live among the rocks, perfect food for hungry owls. This skink actually had a lucky escape. It only sacrificed its tail to the owls. A natural break allows it to drop off, to be left as a wriggling decoy. The lost part of the tail will regrow again within weeks. The young owls have retreated into the safety of a cave. They clearly don't have many human visitors and seem unfazed by Benny's attention. The young owls are just starting to grow the distinguishing tufts that give them their name. There are 8 different species of owls in Iran, and there is ample food for them all. High in the mountains, the most precious of nature's gifts bursts out of the ground. The cold, clear water is efficiently channeled into a network of underground tunnels that for 1,000 years have supplied the larger cities. On its subterranean journey, it remains fresh and cool and emerges again in the heart of the city. Water plays a significant role in the Islamic religion. It's a sign of life, energy, and happiness. Iran's dry heat makes shade and water the most essential elements of its parks and gardens. The Persian garden aspired to be a paradise on earth. Indeed, the word paradise comes from the Persian and was used to describe these man-made oases. The city parks with their water features offer a cool and tranquil retreat and are a place for relaxation and inspiration. Persian gardens have adorned the Middle East for over 3,000 years and have influenced the design and style of gardens all over the world. Iran's hot and dry climate makes life tough for both plants and animals. But the rocky cliffs are home to a mountain specialist, Persian ibex, or wild goats. These nimble-footed creatures are the ancestors of our domestic goats, and they are perfectly adapted to their perilous rocky lifestyle. Benny needs to be well camouflaged so as not to scare them off. Both males and females have impressive horns and battle to determine their place within the herd. Traditionally, ibex have featured strongly in Persian art, a symbol of strength, elegance and beauty. Another specialist adapted to the harsh rocky terrain. The spur-thighed tortoise is a robust survivor that has lived here for centuries. Its leathery skin and hard shell protect it both against the heat and the many thorny plants. Benny knows that the tortoise is likely to head for the wild flowers and positions himself accordingly. These blooms and leaves are a soft treat, high in moisture, that the tortoise can store in his bladder. It's hard to imagine that for a short period every year, this arid landscape is transformed into a sea of flowers. The numerous crevices between the rocks are home to small rodents. They may look like hamsters, but they are in fact pikas. They are busy collecting flowers and grasses which they dry in stacks in the sun and then store in their burrows for food and bedding. This can be dangerous work when there are predators about. A Montpellier snake, 2 meters long and with poison fangs. This is a formidable hunter. But the pikas are vigilant, and neighbors warn each other at the slightest sign of danger. Iran's hot and arid conditions may be inhospitable to some, but snakes and other reptiles thrive here. Iran is home to over 70 species of snakes. The pikas also face dangers from above. A kestrel has spotted the colony. Their camouflage and knowledge of the rocky crevices puts the pikas at an advantage. Not every hunt is successful. Looking at a map of Iran, the outline of the country has similarities with the shape of a cat, ears pointing northwest. Benny is heading further south into the country. His journey takes him to a small wildlife refuge, Shir Amat. The dry scrubland attracts smaller and more numerous grassland specialists. An army of migratory locusts are gathering force. Huge swarms of these insatiable insects can form undetected in the desert and travel en masse to ravage surrounding farms. Swarms can contain millions, even billions of individuals, and they will strip a field within minutes. But in small numbers, they are no trouble. And for Benny, they are simply another delightful wildlife attraction. Nearby, Benny discovers an abandoned caravansary along the old Silk Route. These deserted lodges, over 200 years old, were once used for traders making their way through the deserts with their long camel trains. For Benny, it's a perfect hideout.
It's really luxury to be here. I've seen other places where mosquitoes bite you and dirty, wet and hot. So this is a good place to wait for animals.
At last. A Persian gazelle. Large herds of these elegant animals once roamed the steppes of Iran, but mass slaughter over generations means they are now rare and endangered. Conservation efforts are underway to ensure the survival of these last herds. It's reassuring to see so many youngsters. Gazelles play a major role in Persian art and literature. Their gracefulness and elegance, a symbol of female beauty. Benny is distracted by a splash of color on the open grassland. European rollers. They are panting to cool down in the midday heat. In Iran, these insect eaters are still abundant. They are nesting in cavities in the clay walls of the old lodge. The gazelles have come down to a waterhole. They are particularly vulnerable to predators when drinking and are nervous. Any small sound startles them. The end of a rewarding day for Benny and a magical sunset in the wild. Iran today has over 70 million inhabitants, and most are clustered in the few urban concentrations. Isfahan, in the heart of the country, was once a small oasis. Today, it's a city of millions. The influence of the West is starting to infiltrate a traditional Islamic society. Old and new seem to blend together effortlessly in modern Iran, but the ancient ways still live in the people's hearts. The Imam Mosque is a masterpiece of Persian architecture and a sacred place to the people, and yet the heart of Iran's urban life never seems far from the wild places beyond. The people's close relationship with animals continues as it has done for thousands of years. Persian high-flyer pigeons are bred for their aesthetic appearance and flying skills. Just after dawn, the pigeon breeders drive the birds out of their cages to showcase their aerial skills. For Benny, this is a trip back to his childhood, where he used to raise these birds himself. Although gambling is illegal in Iran, high bets are placed on the birds. Cars and even homes are at stake. The aim is to have as many pigeons as possible in the air for a set period of time. The tumbling display, a specialty of this breed, has given them their other name, tumbler pigeons. Each of these birds is valued at a few $100s. It's worth catching any strays. This man has spotted another man's prize pigeon, so he quickly puts his own birds into the air. He hopes that his flock will tempt the lone pigeon to join them. He was right. The strange bird joins his flock. Attracted by the offer of food, the flock lands again. And amongst them is the new pigeon. His plan worked. The pigeon thief quickly puts his own mark on the kidnapped bird. Now it is his property. All's fair in love and war. The freshly acquired pigeon will not be allowed to fly until it has been well integrated into the new flock. Its wings are tied with string to prevent it from escaping home. Pigeon stealing is common in Iran, so this breeder safeguards his property with surveillance cameras. In the meantime, the true owners of the kidnapped bird have noticed that one of their prize pigeons is missing. It's a painful loss. Keeping pigeons is considered holy in Iran and thought to bring good luck. Mount Damavand. It's the highest peak in the Middle East, marking the border between the dry southern and the wet northern regions of Iran. The Abaz Mountains in the far north of the country are covered in deciduous woodlands that resemble those in Europe. Wild boar noisily root around in the undergrowth. They are the ancestors of our domestic pigs. The sows with young are nervous. Benny takes care to always keep some trees between himself and the animals. A mother with young will defend her family vigorously. A large male takes stock of Benny. Will it come to a showdown? Benny tries to remain calm. Wild boar do well in Iran. Eating pigs is forbidden under Islamic law, and many Muslims will not even touch the animals. Increasingly, the fearless pigs come into human settlements, raiding the fields and orchards. With their natural predators such as wolves, leopards, and lions almost gone, wild boar populations are on the increase. But there is one predator in these forests that will still take one of the young piglets, given the chance. The brown bear. The Abaz Mountains still holds a few dozen. And most other animals will give them a wide berth. The Persian brown bears are bigger and heavier than the European ones. But like their cousins, their forest habitat is rapidly disappearing, falling victim to illegal logging. The safety of the national park provides a last refuge for the bears. Golistan National Park in the Abaz Mountains is the oldest national park in Iran. On the weekends, crowded with tourists from nearby Tehran. Today, it faces serious problems, and Benny feels it's crucial to document and make people aware of them.
I'm a wildlife photographer, but sometimes it's better to take videos to show some problems or some issues. So it's much better to make some problems understandable for the environmental protection issues with videos than with photographs.
In Golistan, as in many of Iran's national parks, conflicts between humans and animals are on the increase. Benny films wild boar coming into the tourist camp. The pigs are searching for scraps of food and losing their natural fear of humans. This could pose problems in the future. The Abaz mountain range traps moisture from the Caspian Sea on its northern side. This is the wettest region of Iran, the high rainfall creating a prehistoric Garden of Eden. green mountainsides are like gigantic sponges that gratefully soak up the water from the clouds. Here, there is no shortage of water. Numerous streams and rivers gush out of the rocks, producing enough water to supply most of the country. It's a precious resource that is not taken for granted. Water, the gift from God, is the essence of the gardens of paradise. Cool and secluded spots like these attract visitors from afar. Iran's ancient forests remained untouched by the Ice Age. It was from here that the forest gradually spread northwards into Europe again. The brown bear species also survived the Ice Age. They are mostly solitary creatures, only coming together during the mating season. Whilst northern Iran has ample rain and water, the south is parched and dry. The desert heat creates whirlwinds that move across the land. But nothing compares with the strength of a massive sandstorm that can bury all life. Vast sand dunes spread across the land like the Sahara Desert. Yet, within this desolate landscape lies Iran's largest wildlife refuge, Naibandan. Plants and animals living here struggle to survive. A crested lark has found one of the few remaining pools of water. Others are quick to join. Hornets drink their fill. And butterflies put out their long mouth parts to probe for salt in the moist soil. The waterhole is alive with activity. A wasp fashions perfect balls from the wet mud to build its nest. In the parched landscape, these pools are honey pots that attract all sorts of animals, even larger ones. Benny looks for signs of big cats.
It looks like a fresh leopard track, so it might be from last night.
This is exciting news, and Benny decides to stake out the pool to capture images of any nighttime visitors. He sets up a camera trap with an infrared motion sensor. Animals visiting the pool at night will automatically trigger the device. A final test to check the camera is working, and Benny retreats. A praying mantis seems to be undisturbed by the commotion. It carries on with the business of ambushing passing shield bugs. In the cooler temperatures of the night, many animals venture out of their hiding places. Nighttime sounds fill the air. The phantom-like shape and glowing eyes of a hyena pass through the frame. A porcupine takes a leisurely drink. Sadly, no sign of the leopard from the night before. The journey must go on. In the far south of the country, near the city of Shiraz, lies the Bamu National Park. It's home to the sand fox. Tourists are not common here, so the animals are shy. Benny has been joined by a local snake expert, Ali Salemi. The dry terrain is perfect habitat for snakes. During the day, the animals are likely to be hiding under rocks and boulders. The snake specialist lifts a boulder carefully to reveal a surprise. This isn't an earthworm, it's a tiny snake. The miniature snake isn't a youngster. At 30 centimeters, it's a fully grown black-headed ground snake. It isn't poisonous, feeds entirely on insects, and is strong enough to overpower a scorpion. Snakes, big and small, are symbols of evil in Iran, and most locals believe that only a dead snake is a good snake. But Benny and Ali are delighted by this exquisite creature, a real ambassador for snake kind. Close to the national park, a small community of people and their animals manage to survive. The Qashqai nomads travel with their herds through the vast grasslands. Goats are their most precious possession. Every evening, all the family join in milking the animals. Benny documents this traditional way of life. No one knows how long these ancient customs will be preserved. For the Qashqai, their goats are a lifeline. They provide valuable protein in the form of milk, cheese, and meat. But these days, the nomads only roam the grasslands in the summer months. In winter, they prefer the comforts of the city. Their traditional lifestyle is changing, and the influences of city life are plain to see. The Qashqai have used this hostile habitat to great effect for generations. The little that grows here is just enough to sustain the livestock, and their nomadic lifestyle prevents the land from being overgrazed. Benny's journey now takes him into the central part of Iran, to an area that was once part of the old Silk Trail. The vast stone deserts are home to one-humped Arabian camels or dromedaries. Their ancestors came from Arabia and Africa, huge caravans of camels carrying heavy goods across the continent. These sturdy beasts played an important role in Iran's trade and history, bringing with them a new religion from the Arabic world into Asia, Islam. Today, the camels are no longer used and left to roam the deserts freely. Benny and the ranger prepare for a hot, dry journey through Baramgur National Park. Another special and rare grassland inhabitant is just a rickety motorbike ride away. It hides deep within the vast grasslands of Baramgur. It is an onager, or Persian wild ass. This subspecies of the Asian wild ass is only found in Iran, and the national park offers them a last safe refuge. The horses are highly nervous and can spot people from nearly a mile away. They were once a favorite quarry of kings and emperors, and their population today is down to just 400. It's a privilege to catch a glimpse of these rare animals. Benny has taken up the offer to visit the ranger station. But he wasn't expected to be greeted in this way. It's an immature Eurasian black vulture, and it's taken an interest in Benny's camera. The scruffy scavenger turns out to be a willing model, and Benny decides to try out his 3D camera on the obliging bird. The two cameras side by side will create a 3D effect when the two pictures are merged.
Some of the animals are afraid of the both lenses in front because the most predators got their eyes in front. So they think it's a predator, so it's better to talk to the animals with very, very easy and relaxed voice, so they are relaxed also.
The Rocky Mountains around the ranger station are home to wild sheep, the mouflon. They are well adapted to feeding on tough grasses and shrubs, and are characteristic animals in this habitat. The mouflon live in large herds that the males join during the mating season. The females give birth to one or two, and they are well protected within the safety of the herd. Benny has heard about a baby mouflon at another ranger station. He's going to investigate. It may be his chance to get some really appealing shots. The young mouflon is only 3 weeks old and is called Bita. Little Bita was chased by poachers who broke its back leg with a stick. She was saved by the park rangers who intercepted the poachers. Benny is enchanted by the delightful youngster. He discovers that the rangers hope to raise the young sheep with the help of a foster parent, a domestic goat. The male goat watches as the orphan is introduced to one of his females. The young animal immediately tries to suckle from its foster mother. It's a good start. This young mouflon is likely to survive and eventually be released back into the wild. But others might not be so lucky. The sickle-shaped horns of the mouflon have long been prized by trophy hunters. In the past, they were turned into drinking vessels. Even today, the mouflon are still wary of hunters and prefer to stay within the safety of the rocks. Poaching is still a real threat in Iran's national parks. Iran's wildlife reserves ensure that rare and endangered animals have a chance to recover and survive. Despite the threats facing Iran's larger wildlife, smaller creatures like this rock agama are still abundant. These cold-blooded lizards thrive in the dry heat and can tolerate temperatures higher than most reptiles. They are solar-powered and bask on the rocks to absorb the sun's heat. The agama will use any exposed site to warm up and is happy to exploit man-made constructions. Persepolis, the heart of the old Persian Empire. The ruins of this once mighty city are 2,500 years old. The magnificent monuments testimony to a powerful reign. Today, the ruins are alive with wildlife and provide shelter for all kinds of creatures. Even at night, there is life and movement among the old ruins. A 1,000 kilometers north of Persepolis, in Golistan National Park, Benny is hoping to find one of the large forest mammals. The animals he is trying to see are extremely shy. He will need all his skills and his long telephoto lens. Caspian red deer. Red deer hunting was as popular in Iran as elsewhere. Their antlers were desired trophies. Today, the remaining populations are protected and only found in pristine forests in the north of Iran. The Caspian deer are bigger than their European cousins. The adults have no natural predators, but the fawns make easy prey for a forest hunter. The Persian leopard. Their main prey are young or weak wild boar and deer. The Persian leopard is larger and lighter in color than its African cousin. Even today, these beautiful cats are still illegally hunted for their fur and are now highly endangered. Iran's forests and mountains are their last stronghold, harboring 800 leopards. Although most of the leopards live within protected reserve areas, here too they are no longer safe. A new motorway is being built right through the middle of Golistan National Park. As a result, the river running through the valley has to be contained with high cement walls. It's hard to foresee what effects this will have on the region's wildlife.
As you see, there is a wound in the national park, and it's a genetic problem for some of the animals because the animals on this side of the road can't have the contact with the animals on the other side of the road. So there is a wall between them.
Benny hopes that by documenting his findings, he can alert the government to the problems facing the park. Whilst some of Iran's constructions are not in the interest of animals, other more ancient ones were made specifically for them. This is a pigeon tower, over 20 meters high, dating back to the 17th century. This astounding architectural maze constructed of bricks and clay can house more than 10,000 pigeons. It's filled with a honeycomb of small roosts for the birds. The tower's design ensures that the pigeon droppings fall to the ground without soiling any bird sitting below. The pigeon guano was traditionally collected and used as fertilizer on the fields. Today, artificial fertilizers have taken over and pigeon guano is no longer needed. The remaining towers are still preserved as historical monuments for tourists and visitors. The last leg of Benny's journey takes him to the far north of the country, to the banks of the Caspian Sea. This is the largest body of inland water in the world. A golden jackal. It's hoping for an easy meal washed up by the tide. Less than 100 years ago, Caspian tigers still roamed these shores, preying on wild pig and deer in the surrounding forest. They were hunted to extinction, so the jackal has one less natural competitor. But there are now plans to reintroduce tigers to these parts once more. Benny knows that this fertile delta is likely to give him a chance for a few last photos of some impressive animals. Water buffalo. Not rare, but magnificent. They are closely related to the endangered wild water buffalo from Southeast Asia. Although these are domestic animals, the sturdy beasts are allowed to roam freely through the grassland and marshes. They cope better with the humid climate here than any other cattle. The buffaloes are valuable livestock for the people, providing meat, milk, and leather, whilst their dung is used as fertilizer. The grasslands as well benefit from the grazing and are rich in wildlife. The calm lagoons of the Caspian Sea attract migrant birds. Greater flamingos come to feed in its saline waters. They are the largest, but also the palest of the world's flamingos. They stir up the mud with their feet and use their specialized bills to filter small shrimps and algae out of the water. The flamingos come here each winter in their thousands. Benny is nearing the end of his 6-week expedition. He has traveled 7,000 kilometers through Iran, yet seen only a fraction of this vast and little-known land. Benny has documented much of what he's seen in pictures, but he has also written a report which he plans to send to the Minister for Environment. His mission is to add his voice to those of others trying to save Iran's remaining wildernesses.
I have already some connections in Iran. They try to do some projects for saving nature, what is left in the nature. And I hope that I can keep the contact and work with these people to conserve what is left for the next generations.
Iran. Benny is hopeful for the future of his country. Iran's secret wilderness is a mosaic of beautiful and contrasting habitats. It's a country where different continents collide to create an almost impossibly rich diversity of animals existing side by side. It is like nowhere else on Earth. A little-known world in danger of disappearing even before it's discovered.